Hi, I'm Debbie and this is Book and Bujo. Thank you for joining me as I create my Year in Pixels bookmark. Some supplies you'll need is some kind of either paper cutter or a pair of scissors, or corner rounder if you want to make the edges pretty. Pencil and eraser for drawing out the design before you create it. A variety of different kinds of pens, whatever you want to use, and some type of dot grid paper. So I have the A5 black and white Archer and Olive notepad here, as well as some of the darker colors that came with it. So you've got the craft paper, the dark blue, and the dark green. I also have the more pastel Eastery colors with the yellows, the greens, the blues, and the purples. So you can decide what color bookmark you want. For today's bookmark, I'm kind of thinking I want to try a black one and a white one. We'll see. I got these really cool Moonlight pastel pens, but I also got some glaze pens, which are pretty cool, that leave kind of like a 3D effect. Not sure which ones I want to use yet, so let's go ahead and grab a black one and a white one out here. Now I use my paper cutter in a couple different ways. The first one is to get rid of this perforated edge that's here on both of the pieces. And so you just want to get it as, if you're using a paper cutter, you want to get it as close to these little edges as possible, the grooves, so you don't cut off too much. Not just this tiny little piece to get cut off. See how small that is? Okay, let's do this side here. Oh, this one might be bent a little bit. That's all right. And the same thing here. What's nice about the paper cutter is you don't have to worry about being exactly precise, although I feel like that one, I don't feel like this piece of paper is very straight. Okay, there we go. And again, just the smallest amount. Yeah, that definitely, the piece of paper is not straight. Interesting. Next thing you want to do is you want to count in and figure out where the middle of the paper is and give that a little mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24. There's 25 dots. 13 squares in on this. I know for the pages that are just a little bit bigger, these ones, that the center space is 15, so you have 14 dots on each side, and then the 15th one is the center. You want to do a little mark up top and then bring that down and do a mark at the bottom as well. And then it's going to be the same for this one because these are the same sizes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So here's 13. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Just to be sure, let's come on down. And there we go. Then we grab our paper cutter again. And this is great because it creates 2 different bookmarks with 1 cut. And there we go. This side's going to be just a skosh bigger, just because this space is a little larger. And then I take my corner rounder. I typically use the 10, but you can use any of the sizes. I like it because it's a little bit more of a wide round than closer together. Okay, so that's the 10 millimeter corner rounder there. Let's go ahead and do the 7, the R7 on, no, I'm going to stick with the 10 on this one because they already have it on there. I'll show you the other ones on the next one. So now for the black piece, And if you want to make these more even, you could cut a little bit off of this side, but it's kind of nice to have a little bit extra on one side every so often. All right, so let's do the 7 on this one so you can see the difference. So there's the 10 and the 7. They're pretty similar. This one's just a little bit smaller of a circle. Okay, and we'll do the 4 on this one. This one you can definitely tell the difference. So we can see this corner here. Let's get a white background so we can see a little better here. So you can see this is the one that came with it, so that's more of the 10, and then this one's the 4, so you can definitely see the difference more here. Okay. I'm just going to go back through and do the 10 on these just so they match. All right, so we could create 4 different bookmarks here. But what I want to create first is a year in pixels. Let's go ahead and use this one. And then here is a sample of a year in pixels that I've started. Mine for here is reading tracker, so it's pages read and audiobooks read, and I do want to separate these out, and I will be setting up a bookmark for this as well, just to make it a little easier, and that way I can keep it in each month instead of having to flip back and forth, back and forth. And when I move out of this notebook, because it's already March and I'm already this far through, I only have this much left, it's not going to last me through December. So it'll be nice to have the bookmark I can transfer to each of my different notebooks instead of having to come back to this notebook specifically if I'm already 2 or 3 notebooks later in the year. So this is where your pencil comes in handy. So you want to have some type of title. You want to figure out how much room you're going to need on your bookmark, and then for year in pixels, water tracker, that kind of thing, you're going to want to have a key somewhere on here as well. So we need at least 31 spaces because there's the most we have in one month is 31 days. So we need to make sure we have that space available to us, as well as at least 12 to 13 across just for the months themselves, because we have 12 months, plus you want room to write the day of the month if you choose to do it that direction. So I'm going to go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4, let's go with 5 and see how that works. Okay, so that will give us all the days in the month, and then we have to decide, is that enough room for whatever header we want to put on, and is this enough room for the key that we want to have? How many different options do you want for your key? And then I also want to have room to be able to put the months themselves. In order to fit them all across, I may want to do another little line here and maybe ruler that down to here to give me enough room to write the days of the week or the days of the month. Or you just know what day it is by when you last filled it out. You could also put it on this side, but I think putting it over here for me is probably going to be my best bet. And that way you have it all the way across. So we know January is 31 days, February is typically 28, of course 29 this year. So 31, that's 30, 29. And then we have March, April, May, June, July, and August are both 31. September, October, November, and December. So those are the main things we want for our calendar. You could also do a separate line for each, in between each month or between each day, depending on how bold you want your table to be set up. I think for me, less is more, especially if I'm going to be adding color in here. Then those lines may help, may not. So down here, I want my key. So we can either write it this direction and have the key over here, or you can do it this way and still have the key this direction and still write it this way. Just depends on how you want to read your words down here. And you can do boxes and put, it was a great day, or you can do just a line. You say it was a good day, it was meh. Maybe you had a sad day. Maybe it was just a really bad day, or maybe you just had kind of a stressed day. You could also use this as an anxiety tracker too, as another thought, stress or anxiety tracker. Depends on how if you want to color in the whole box, if you want to do like faces or these ones, maybe you have a teardrop here, super smiley, and maybe it was a kind of a smirky face. Depends on how you want to set yours up. Personally, I prefer color coding, I think, but we'll see. You could also do both. You could have a good day, but you're also stressed. So you have, maybe this is blue, and then you do a check mark to show that you were stressed out as well. Or maybe you want to check if you had a headache that day, or whether you had some kind of allergy symptoms. So some type of health or wellness tracker would be good as a bookmark as well. So you can track the entire year at one glance. So then we're going to have, let's see, we want to make sure it's going to fit. So I think I'm going to do hand letter for year in pixels. Do a little bit of both hand lettering and printing. All right, once you figure out how you want this set up, you can then choose what colors you want to use. I've got a couple different colors of fine liners here. I've got a light gray, a dark gray, and a black. So it depends on how bold you want your table. I've got a couple of brush pens here. I've got my Pentel brush sign pens and a couple of Tombos from the Galaxy collection. And that's mainly for the year in pixels, or the title, and maybe the key, and try and figure out what colors that we want to use for all of these. I also have some jelly rolls here in the Moonlight in the 10, and I could use these for my key as well, and then keep them in my little pencil bag that I keep at my desk. But I also have a bunch of dot markers in here that you can use as well. So instead of coloring in a whole square, you can just do a quick little pop with the dot marker, and makes it super quick and easy. So I think for this one, I'm going to use a combination of my brush pens, my fine liners, and some of my dot pens. All right, let's get started. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and use my black. No, I'm going to use the dark gray. Okay, I'm going to use the dark gray. Very indecisive today with my colors. And I have found most people say it's a lot easier if you go down and drag the pen towards your body. For me, that works sometimes. But what almost always works for me is actually going horizontally to the right, especially if I can move my whole hand. So instead of having your wrist against the desk and moving your hand, you have more your elbow against the desk, or even your forearm, and then you can move your entire arm with it, and that gives you so much more control as you're drawing your line. I also find that if you take a deep breath in, and as you're breathing in, you start your line, and then you can kind of hold your breath until you're at the end, and then let that breath out and draw your line. That helps as well. Now with this one, I don't have the dots as a guide, so I do want to get my ruler for this one. Hopefully it will be long enough. Oh, it will. Wonderful. So yeah, if you're worried about your straight lines at all, just grab a ruler. Sometimes it takes a little longer, sometimes it doesn't. It would take a little longer just to kind of set it up when you're doing the actual line. It doesn't take that long. So if it's a short line, I don't have a problem going down. But for me, for some reason, doing from left to right just works so much better for me. Now, if you're a normal person, not that I'm not normal, but most people do find it much easier to drag down towards their body. So play with it and find out what works best for you. For the numbers, I'm actually going to go with my light gray, and I'm going to go with the 0.1 tip that's a lot smaller, just because it makes it so much easier to get tiny numbers. And I don't have to worry about trying to write super small. You just want to line them up with the space here. And since I didn't leave myself a whole lot of space on this left-hand side, I want to make sure I make the numbers small enough. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go with the black for my months at the top. And you can always do them at the bottom too if you prefer. Another way you can do at the bottom, if you don't need a key, you can do it like this, where you have the month underneath. That's a little bit harder to see since that's in yellow, but and again, you can do lines across this way in between each of the days, and you can do lines down this way in between each of the months if you want a full table. All right, for the key at the bottom, I'm going to start with the black. Just write the word key down here. Writing in the key itself, I'm going to keep it with the black. I have great, good, meh, sad, stressed. You could use depressed if you'd prefer that, depending on what you're tracking, and then just it was a bad day. I'm going to go ahead and erase my markings first. Now is when I need to decide what colors I want to use for each of these. And if I want to use my dot markers, if I want to use more of my Tombows or my brush pens, maybe a combination. Okay, so maybe for my bad day, that's going to be a brown dot. Maybe for my stressed out day, that's going to be the teal. For sad, let's go ahead and go with the blue. For meh, let's use this terracotta color. And then for great, let's go ahead and use purple, or I mean for good. And then for great, let's go ahead and use the yellow because everything is sunshine on a great day. Beautiful sunshine. Okay, so the other thing that we can do is we can add, I'll go ahead and use my 0.1 in the dark gray. And for a bad day, I'm going to put an X in there in case I want to use both the color and or the icon. And then for stressed, I'm going to put a wavy line, kind of a jiggle there. And then I'm going to do like a little tear here in my sad day, and then my meh day gets just a meh face. Good gets a smiley face, and great gets an exclamation point. Okay, that one needs to be a little bolder. In case you want to use a mix of these. You may have had a great day, but maybe there was some sadness to it. Maybe overall it was a good day, but maybe you had some sad news towards the end, or maybe at the beginning it was a little rough and you were kind of stressed out, but by the end it was great. So you can add some icons or things like that to it as well. Okay, now for the top, I think I want to use this one because it is just a fun color. Then we'll go with this, the Tombow 676. I think that's a 7. And then if you want, you could put the year in here as well so you remember later on in life if you go to look back on them. All right, now let's get rid of the rest of the pencil markings. And we have your year in pixels bookmark. Now, how would you use this? So maybe you had good day here and here and here. Maybe you had a couple meh days in there as well. You had a sad day. And then there was you had a work project, so there was a couple days in there that you were just kind of stressed out. And then you had a presentation coming up and you just had a really bad day overall. You got bad news, everything was going wrong. But then the project is over, you had a couple days off, you had a couple really good days in there. You may have had a meh day over here, and it was also a bit stressful, and so you have that in there. Or maybe you had a stressed day, but it was also kind of sad. Got some sad news in there. So that is one way that you can use your tracker. And if you want, you could also use just the icons. And so maybe you had a really good day here, you had, or a great day there, you had a couple of really good days in here. Maybe you had a meh day, maybe it was just a stressful day. And you had a sad day here, another kind of stressful day. So, a couple other ways that you could use that. You can see all that. Another thing you can do is maybe you had kind of meh in the morning, but then your day ended up really good. Or vice versa. So you can use it that way as well. Alright, so that is our year in pixels, but you don't want to have a blank bookmark on the other side. So a couple things you can do with this one is you can actually just write out year in pixels in here, do some washi tape, make it look pretty. You could do an exercise tracker, a reading tracker, or maybe some type of weather tracker. If it rained or snowed or was sunny, windy, whatever, you could use that on this backside. I think for me, I'm going to put the title on the backside for this one, because I think that makes the most sense overall. Let's go ahead and use the same two colors that we used on this side. But we'll use the Tombow brush pen first. Alright, so we have our Year in Pixels bookmark for 2024. Thank you so much for joining me as I set up my Year in Pixels bookmark, and please stay tuned because I have a lot more ideas in mind for some other future bookmarks, like a reading tracker bookmark, audiobooks listened to and pages read bookmark, as well as an exercise and water tracker bookmark. That way you get to keep track of things for the entire year and have it all in one glance, and you can move it from notebook to notebook without having to waste a page in your notebook for a spread you're only going to use half of. And until next time, keep planning. Bye!